April 19th, 2021 is the day that football has completely changed. It was a day where you had to ask yourselves, where were you? Where were you when all this went down? And where were you when the foundations of European football was rocked to its very core? Because if you have been living under a rock, you would have missed one of the biggest announcements in world football, with the news that 12 clubs have broken away from European competition to form their own European league, the European Super League. This announcement shocked the entire world of football, and we are here to break it down. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. You're watching Tifosi Culture TV and I'm Hotshot, and today we're going to be talking about the breaking news of the announcement of the Super League. In the late hours of 19th April 2021, 12 European clubs made a joint statement that they are breaking away from European competition to form their own European Super League. The 12 clubs are AC Milan, Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Real Madrid and Tottenham Hotspur. The clubs say that they are a part of 15 founding members, the 12 announced already, as well as they are waiting for 3 other clubs to join with them. And these 15 clubs will take part in a 20-team competition. In the official statement, they have mentioned that the games will take place during the midweek, starting from the month of August. They plan on starting the competition as early as the 2022-23 season. 20 teams will take part in this competition, divided into 2 groups of 10, with each team playing home and away fixtures, with the top 3 from each group qualifying into the quarterfinals. The 4th and 5th place team in each group will enter a 2-legged playoff to determine the remaining quarterfinal spots. Then a 2-legged knockout format will take place up until the final, which will be a one-off taken place at a neutral venue, which will be held in May. There will be no relegation for the 15 founding members for the foreseeable future, and they will be in the competition no matter what their domestic and European performances were. The 5 other teams will enter the competition via playoffs. The new heads of the European Super League have come out and spoken about the league. Florentino Perez, who is the president of Real Madrid, is now the new chairman of the European Super League. He has come out and said that this competition will quote-unquote help football in every level, while Andrea Agnelli, who is the chairman of Juventus, is now the vice chairman of the European Super League. He has come out and said this competition is enabling European competition to be transformed, putting the game we love on a sustainable footing for the long-term future. Joel Glazer, co-chairman of Manchester United, who has known to be extremely silent, is now also the vice chairman of this European Super League, and he has made a statement claiming, quote-unquote, the European Super League is ensuring world-class competition and facilities and increased financial support for the wider football pyramid. The 12 clubs still maintain that they want to be playing in their domestic competitions, saying that they are quote-unquote preserving the traditional domestic match calendar which remains at the heart of the club game, and also that they would like to proceed with this tournament with the approval from FIFA and UEFA. And most importantly, and as of this recording, all 12 clubs have stepped down from their roles in the European Club Association, or the ECA. The response to this announcement has been met, unsurprisingly, with overwhelmingly negative responses. UEFA and other European leagues have put out a joint statement in saying that the clubs will be banned in future European, domestic and world football competitions. The players playing for these clubs could be denied the opportunity to represent their national teams. And this has been confirmed by UEFA President Seferin. He has come out and said that these players will be banned from playing in Euro 2020, which is taking place this summer. FIFA has also put out a statement regarding this matter, saying, quote-unquote, that it stands firm in favor of solidarity in football and an equitable redistribution model which can help develop football as a sport. And they also said FIFA can only express its disapproval to a closed European breakaway league outside of the international football structures and not respecting the aforementioned principles. And as expected, the Premier League as well as La Liga have come out with statements saying that they are against the European Super League. But most notably, Gary Neville, former Manchester United player, reacted to the news live on Sky Sports, and he encapsulated what the majority of football fans feel right now. Ceferin went on a rampage and tore Woodward and Agnelli a new one. Starting off with Woodward, he said that Woodward called him last Thursday and said that he was fully satisfied and supported the reforms, and he only wanted to talk about financial fair play, when it was obvious Woodward had already signed something else. Speaking about Agnelli, Ceferin said that he was the biggest disappointment of all, and he had never seen a person that would lie so many times, so persistently as he did, and it was unbelievable. And he ended off by saying, "We didn't know we had so many snakes so close to us. Now we know." So why did they break away from Europe? Well, to quote Lewis Hamilton, cash is king. It's pretty evident that money is the key factor motivating all these clubs to make this decision. The founding clubs will receive 3.5 billion shared between the 15 clubs upon joining, and this would be targeted at offsetting the losses sustained during the global pandemic and to support infrastructure investment plans. They have, however, pledged 10 billion euros in solidarity to the European football pyramid over 23 years, which they claim is substantially higher than the current offering under UEFA. The New York Times reported that based on the projections each club has been showed earlier this year, they could receive up to $400 million for taking part in this competition. Not winning the competition, not getting past the group stages of the competition, just for taking part, and just in case they do not receive the backing from UEFA and FIFA, and just in case they do not get any additional funding from UEFA and FIFA, they have enlisted the services of JP Morgan investment banking company to bankroll this venture. An interesting fact, JP Morgan was the former employer of Ed Woodward. This model closely resembles that of American sporting leagues such as the NFL and the NBA, two huge sporting franchises in the US. In the NFL and NBA, team owners are free from any governing body, and they are able to hire a commissioner who is able to serve their best interests. American football and NBA is mostly focused on your big name superstar players like your Tom Brady and your LBJs, as well as the glitz and glamour of teams, rather than the ordinary working class clubs that is the backbone of European football. And another reason for starting is the fact that no matter how badly these teams perform in their domestic competitions as well as the European competition, they will always have a spot in Europe's elite. So why all of this now? I mean, they could have announced it ahead of time, or they could have announced it a little later. Well, it's the same reason why every business or every sporting franchise has been struggling financially. That's right, it's COVID. Football clubs are not able to cope up with the financial crisis COVID has brought. Along with the loss of numerous lives, financial loss is one of the biggest factors. They absolutely need the money being offered by the ESL simply to keep their clubs afloat. Clubs like Chelsea and Spurs have accepted their position in this European Super League purely because they will struggle financially. So why is there a huge amount of outrage and outcry from every single corner of the footballing community? Well, first we have to take a look at how this affects the fans as well as the other clubs who are not a part of this European Super League. First, the fans. This further proves that they do not care about the fans. Apart from the owners, nobody was even informed of this decision. None of the club owners came out and asked the fans whether if they would be interested in their clubs taking part in this competition, and if they could easily make a decision amongst themselves that has huge ramifications in a club's future. Imagine what else they could do without the opinion or the feedback from the fans. Secondly, football is a working man's sport. This European competition will 100% price out the working man. These tickets are going to be expensive AF, and 90% of the working class man cannot afford to go and see their clubs midweek, week in, week out for the foreseeable future. And this makes way for more rich people to enter the sport. The game is taking its first steps in moving away from a sport of the middle class and the working class people to a sport of the elite and the wealthy. And like the NFL and the NBA, who have deals to play some of their games in England and the rest of the world, we might see certain games to be played in the US. We could see El Clasico being played in Los Angeles, or Manchester United versus Liverpool in Boston, or the Manchester Derby being played in Miami. In short, fans could lose the identity and the relationship they have with the club. Football clubs are moving away from being clubs and into franchises, and this is only going to further alienate the fans in the long run. And as for neutrals, the most major criticism of this European Super League is the fact that we are going to see a Chelsea versus Barcelona, AC Milan versus Manchester United, Spurs versus Inter Milan. These used to be huge occasions because these clubs used to play against each other few and far between. Now we are going to see these matches being taken place every year for the next 25 years. Now that we spoken about the fans, let's talk about how the clubs are going to be affected by this. Even though there are plans of financial fair play to be scrapped, it is still there, and clubs are wary of the impact of breaching financial fair play regulations because they could be banned from the Champions League. And now, since these clubs are going to be breaking away from the competition itself, the lack of governance is frightening. There's no limit to what these clubs can spend, and with all the money, with $400 million, 13 billion euros, all of this money, huge money coming into each and every club, there's no limit to how much these clubs can spend. And as a result, the gap between these clubs and their domestic rivals is going to further increase, like it wasn't big enough already. And the absence of these clubs in the Champions League is drastically going to affect TV viewership, and that in turn will decrease the TV rights for the Champions League and the amount of money that the Champions League clubs who are actually competing in the competition get to have, as well as the Champions League prize money drastically reducing for the winners or for the teams competing in the competition, as well as the destruction of grassroots football, which we'll get to in a bit. I feel that we are witnessing history in the making, and no matter what happens from here on out, football as a game, the sport we know and love, has changed forever. The basic concept of sport, the very idea of sport, to be rewarded for your achievements, to be rewarded on your merit and not on any other financial, influential, external factors, has been completely thrown out the window. Clubs such as Ajax, who provided one of Champions League's memorable moments in knocking out Real Madrid and pushing Tottenham Hotspur to the limit, two clubs who are part of the original 12 members of the European Super League, will not be there. There are only 5 remaining spots in this European Super League, and there are tons of clubs deserving of the opportunity to compete against the best of the best, and 5 spots is too less of a number when you consider the amount of quality that is there in Europe, and that robs the game of its very essence of an upset of your David and Goliath battles. These clubs need the Champions League money to survive, and playing in the Champions League will simply not be enough in the future to keep a hold of their star talents, and they may be forced to sell them for a little money to the teams competing in the European Super League. And as a result, teams lose the quality to be able to enter these competitions and compete, in addition to the TV rights being reduced. Worst case scenario, if these teams break away from their domestic leagues, they may not be obliged to pay that solidarity sum they promised earlier, and as a result, we may see more clubs like Bury and Bolton being forced into dissolving, as huge number of clubs are going to be on the verge of extinction. With the impact of COVID, clubs really need that money, and I'm not sure that they are going to be able to get it. And most importantly, the fans. We may not see ultras such as Dynamo Zagreb, Lazio, Red Star Belgrade come in and make an atmosphere in a stadium. The allure, the rawness, the prestige of the Champions League is going to be replaced for a polished, sterile and orchestrated product. That is one of the biggest misses that's going to happen if these type of clubs are not being allowed to play in the biggest stage of them all. But I just want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. In 1977, Kerry Packer, Australian tycoon, founded the World Series cricket tournament, and it was considered that time as a breakaway tournament, and it was met with a lot of negative reaction. And they didn't know it at that time, but that very tournament was highly influential in giving birth to the one-day international format in cricket that we know and love. That was the natural course of cricket, and this could be the natural evolution of football. Maybe football is evolving for better or for worse. Time will tell if these European football clubs really mean what they say in helping to develop the footballing pyramid with their solidarity funds and help develop the footballing pyramid. We'll just have to wait and see in that regard. So that is it, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to smash a like, drop your comments down below on what you think about the European Super League, and don't forget we will be having a podcast coming out later in the day about the ESL. We'll be talking in detail, we'll be talking at length, we'll be discussing the pros as well as the cons in detail. So for now, this is me, Hotshot, signing out. Peace.